What's up, guys? Welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast, where we are here to amplify your business. We've got agents all around the world and also everywhere. There are new agents, there's veteran agents, and there's a ton of people listening. We're super excited to get into this episode. But today we have the number 3 agent, individual sales within 75,000 agents in the brokerage. Insane. 80.6 million in sales. So guys,
that's a lot of sales.
It's insane. But so guys, this is a very important podcast, very important episode.
This is one you're going to want to bookmark.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, we're all about the power of association, surrounding ourselves with people that are doing things that we want to do. And that's why we have today Soomin Kim. What's up, Soomin?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're so excited to have you here. I mean, we were getting to know you just a little bit before this. Like, I discovered you on YouTube, and I'm sure, we'll get into that a little bit, but I'm just super excited to have you. And you had mentioned you don't do podcasts a lot, so we're just so thankful that you're giving us a shot to be able to share your knowledge and pick your brain here.
Of course. No, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and I did mention I've been requested to do some, and I always appreciate that, but I just haven't been able to get around from production, put some time out there to go do some of these things.
Awesome.
So I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you. What's going on in your personal lives?
Personal life, I have a family, so I've been married for close to 16 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yep. Awesome. So I got a 9-year-old daughter. I have a son that just turned 7, and then I have a daughter who is coming on 3 months.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so if I fall asleep, it's because it's that.
So how are you doing this?
Because how are you doing over $80 million in transactions while being a dad of 3?
I'll answer that, and I think a lot of husbands might agree, but just having a great teamwork with your wife, it's an understanding of the season,
Wow.
And so it's an understanding that, look, this probably isn't going to be forever, like this. But this is the season that we're in. This is the stage that we're in, and this is a time where it's not a time to wait. If there's crops, we gotta
100%.
We gotta get it.
I love that.
Because look, there's gonna be times and seasons where there's not gonna be much rain, and that's gonna come. So when it's there, you gotta go for it. So it's an understanding and an agreement, not only with your wife but also with your children. Hey, look, you're gonna see dad kind of come in and out, but that's just the season we're in. Don't worry. Like, I have the time for you guys. We're going to do this weekend. We planned this. So we're always looking forward to things, We just got done with Monster Jam, took my son to, the Spurs were playing here in Austin, and
nice.
then we had, and I took my daughter to a show. So we're always looking forward to something so that they don't feel the ins and outs.
So do you find it's like important to schedule those events where it's like, I'm going to be here on this day, like no matter what, and you'll like kind of arrange your business around that?
Yeah, for sure. There'll be some monuments, and some things and events that we'll do. We're always looking out, because the truth is, yes, I am working a lot, but I'm home, right? So my kids actually see me. It's not like where I'm like, hey, see you guys later when at the crack of dawn, and I come back at 6. I'm always at home, so they see me. But it's not like I can be as active. I'm like, hey guys, I'm working right now. I got this to do. Yeah, but don't we want to do this and that? Hey, look, this is what we're going to do this weekend. This is what's coming up next week. So we're always looking forward to things. So.
I think, and sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I interrupt a lot.
John interrupts a lot.
It's all good.
But for me, like, I have a 3-year-old at home right now, and it's so hard. I'm not going to lie. It's super hard for me to stay focused at the house when my wife, my kid, my family, they come over. And so that's why both Soomin and I, we go to a mutual coffee shop, and I always see you over there. And man, and side note, there's a lot of really good agents that go to that coffee shop.
Which one is it?
It's Red Horn. There's 2 locations, one in Cedar Park, but there's also a new one in Leander. It's kind of in a corporate building area that opens up so nicely. So I think that's what it is. It breathes really well. Most coffee shops you go to, I feel like I'm like a giant, right? I feel like an NBA player in these little tables, right? Yeah. But here you got these really cool picnic benches, really open, kind of like almost like a.
We love Red Horn.
Yeah. I mean, we were there yesterday.
Yeah. It's a good spot.
But there's some big time players that actually go to this coffee shop. There's a dude that just sold his business for $75 million. There's a guy that owns like he's a UFC fighter champion that goes in there like every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's wild.
It's crazy. But Yeah, that's a.
It's like we go to Red Horn just to be, hopefully it rubs off on everybody.
I know,
you know?
right? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what's the ROI in a coffee shop, right? What's the ROI on a phone? What's the ROI of a golf course? Like, there's so much is going on, right?
Yep,
So that's cool to hear.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'd love to know a little bit more about you. Thank you for sharing about your family. I'd love to know what your background is, kind of where you came from. Like, are you from Austin?
I'm not originally from Austin. No.
Where are you from?
I'm from a state that will remain.
California. He's from California. That's awesome. How long have you been in Austin?
I'm going on almost 3 years. Okay. So I'm fairly new.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm certainly fairly new and new to the real estate profession as well.
Really?
In 2015, I did get licensed in California as a real estate professional. I never did anything with it. At the time, I was involved in I think I was doing network marketing at the time, building sales teams and that sort of thing. But I was in between a lot of referrals. I was always like, John, you got to meet Jordan. Jordan's a great real estate. Next thing you know, they get a deal done. I'm like, do I get anything out of this? And they're like, oh, we'll take you to dinner or whatnot. And then I just started learning more and more, like, it's really difficult to quote unquote kick back anything, right? And so I was like, what if I got licensed? Then maybe I can just get referrals that way. So I never did it into the intention to actually practice it full time because I had something else going on, But I was technically licensed, didn't do anything. And that was in 2015. And when I moving from California to here and relocating my family, I didn't necessarily have that in place as well. It wasn't until I went through the process myself and reciprocating kind of the things that I needed, I thought there would be a massive opportunity here should I get into real estate,
So what did you do before real estate?
I haven't had a corporate job in over 15 years, So when I answer that, it's always something independent, something 1099, something startup, something marketing. But I did have a run right before real estate with a lot of e-commerce.
Okay.
So I was at home. I was at home specifically. I was almost forced home. It's a longer backstory, but just for some health purposes, I was going through some health challenges, some autoimmune challenges that kind of forced me to be at home, and so I had lost, let's say, the income that I was producing from going out, selling things, meeting with people,
having to adapt,
right? And so it was around that time when there was a little bit of emphasis on, white labeling, FBA, Amazon things. And so I just, I put out a baby fashion brand because that was kind of the season of life that I was in, and that actually hit pretty well. It became pretty successful. I was able to sell that, started a different company or a different brand. So it was e-commerce. It was essentially things inside. But as I got healthier, as I got kind of things back in order and rhythm in my life, I miss getting out there. I miss getting out there because I love working with people. I love working in groups. I love meeting people in real life. So I kind of missed that and just someone being a hermit, being indoors, doing everything.
So you had the entrepreneurial spirit before getting into real estate.
For sure.
Also, he said something. He said, "I love meeting people in real life." Mm-hmm. And I think right now a lot of agents they're just getting their license and they're probably younger and they're just used to texting and just used to sending messages.
Social media.
Social media. But what he said there was, "I love meeting people in real life." Mm-hmm. And the thing was like, so you were doing this before you even got into real estate, right? You were meeting up with people and doing meetings or what? Yeah.
Sure. So I was, I've always been somewhat of an element of a leader, right? Okay. I love to get people together, get the talents of people together and help organize those talents and put people in a position to win, right? And so, like, one of my favorite movies, at least as a synopsis, is Ocean's 11. Why? Because it's 11 different people with 11 different skill sets that need each other, right, in order to have a successful outcome as a group, right? And obviously in that movie they did, But whether it's someone who's acting or that little Asian guy that was doing like the little jumps and fitting in a box, like I love that, And so I didn't necessarily see it in real estate here, but I thought, hey, look, if I can just start working with people again, maybe I'll get myself in an environment of, working with other people, teams.
So you're saying you moved from California to Austin, Texas, mm-hmm. and within the first few years, you got $80.6 million in 1 year?
So last year, it was I'm going to sound like such a douche for saying this.
No,
it was 84 million actually.
84.
84.
My apologies.
84 and 114 transactions. The reason I say 80 is because the Austin Business Journal, for these recognition, wanted us to. We had to get rid of some that weren't in the county of, like Travis. Or
Interesting.
Winston, right. So I had some that, in like San Antonio, New Braunfels, Houston, that area. So we got rid of some of those. But so as a new agent, I had unusual results.
That's sky's the limit. Wow. I mean, if that's not encouraging to you who's listening right now, wondering where your business can go as a new agent, man, that's I mean, I'm encouraged. Like I'm ready to go get it just from that. Like,
let's go.
So what characteristics, and I'm just trying to pick your brain, right? Like what characteristics do you have as an agent that did that other agents may not have, that may need to work on those characteristics? Is it leadership? Is it ambition? Is it confidence? Is it, the knowledge of meeting up with people in person? I'm trying to pick
I
your
think
brain.
I touched on it, and you mentioned it, and the term entrepreneur comes back, right?
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't had a W-2 paycheck for over 15 years of my life, right? And when you get a paycheck on the 5th and 15th of every month, or the 1st and 20th of every month, like it's something you're depending on. I haven't had that privilege, right? For a long part of my adult life, right? So this idea that I'm constantly adapting. So the term I'd give you, or the word I give you, is probably adaptation, the ability to adapt. You know, put me anywhere. You know, I'll figure it out. You know, and I think the problem that I see with new agents, I wouldn't say a problem. I think an ability to adapt for new agents. A critical piece is understanding that you're not an employee. This is not a job. No one's promised you anything, you know? And so this is also why I see a lot of new agents, they love to get involved in offices and brokerages where there's a lot of daily task compliance and protocol, right? Because it feels like you're doing something. There's a copy machine there. There's a boardroom meeting.
it feels closer to what they're used to.
Feels closer to what they're used to, right? And what I've learned is that lasts for about 3 to 6 months when you get to rub shoulders with someone that's actually making money or being productive, and you're not doing that. But if you're around them, you feel like it might rub off on you until it doesn't, you know? And so I would say for new agents, your ability to adapt is prime.
And
It's
one thing I
critical.
wanted to touch on, kind of going back to what you said before, you focus on in-person connection. Does that sound familiar to y'all that are listening? We talked about the 7 levels of communication, great book, and the in-person communication is just king over all. And that's where a lot of your really genuine relationships will come from. That's how you build trust with people. It's in person, because there's an element to it that's missing online, or when people just see your persona online or texting. Like, there's a part of you that doesn't come through that way.
Sure.
So you were, I want to assume, how did you build credibility so quickly with so many people?
So I'll give you the backstory. I mean, ultimately, yes, when we decided to leave the state that we were in, it was the middle of the pandemic, you know? So it was a time when, not everyone was seeing each other. Remember the time where it was illegal to have a birthday party? You know?
Awful.
Exactly.
SWAT teams coming in.
Yeah, exactly. And it was much different in the state that I was in than it was here, for sure. So you can see there was such a desire for that connection again, And so for us, when we started thinking about Austin or Texas as a possible relocation, we spent, once we put our kids down to bed, my wife and I would spend hours watching videos, and looking for as much data, looking for any type of metric, looking for visuals emotionally that we can connect to that gives us something to expect when we go down there. So we would find good videos, we would find bad videos, and we would find ourselves at times watching blurry videos of someone driving through a city, just so we can get an understanding of what we might be able to predict to expect when we see that area, And it wasn't until I got here and we went through even buying a home, getting a new home, where I looked around, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's thousands of others doing the exact same thing that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I bet you they watch bad videos all night and good videos and all different videos just to get some sort of element of predictability, something to expect when they get here. So if I get into real estate, why wouldn't I not reciprocate that with a little bit of quality, And I would imagine that there's going to be many people that are going to take it up like myself. So that's kind of my thought process when I decided to become a real estate agent here in Austin. And then from there, it just comes down to marketing, right? And marketing to me is a passion of mine, right? In fact, I would say for any new agent that's listening to this, marketing is your greatest defense and your inability to have any experience. In other words, your lack of experience, the best Band-Aid for that is really good marketing, Because one of my biggest insecurities as a new agent is that
was so fire, bro. That was so good.
But I mean, I have my insecurities. I'll just be real. Think about this. I'm brand new to a city, right? I don't own cowboy boots, and take that for whatever I meant by that, right? I don't look like a Texan per se. And on top of that, I have no experience. So why wouldn't they use a 15 to 20 year All-Star veteran to list their home, to help them buy a home? Why would they use someone new, And as an entrepreneur, as someone who's adapted in many different industries, be it e-commerce, be it health and wellness, be it blockchain, whatever, marketing was always the common denominator in all of those aspects, right? And so for here, I knew that, look, I have to provide really good marketing that gives off a really good message, that I am competent and I'm someone to be trusted. Whether I am or not, marketing had to play that role. So the beauty of it is I'm 2.5 years into the profession of real estate here in Austin. I would count out of the hundreds of clients I've had, maybe 1 or 2 have ever asked me, by the way, how much experience do you have? Can you give me some data of how many homes you sold in the last 6 months? I think like 1 or 2 people asked me that, and that was like my first few months, right? And I couldn't believe it because I thought that would be the first question I got from everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's great because you have the chance when you're in person with them to give off the confidence. We talk about confidence all the time, where when you're in a listing presentation or you're at a buyer consult, if you can, even if you don't have the sales to back up, like you said, why should you go with me as opposed to a 15-year vet? Well, there's things that I can provide for you. And when you find like your personal value add, or you come off really confident, you can swing that person's opinion in your favor. And so I love that, man. And I was in the same kind of boat with why I started my YouTube channel. Had nowhere near the success that yours is yet. But I've also noticed that I've been inconsistent, so I'm working on that. But I noticed that I was thinking about it, and I'm like, there's a lot of bad videos out there. And so if I can do something, if I just buy a mic where people can hear me well.
Makes a difference.
It puts me above just that little production value. Makes mine look so much better than other videos. Yeah. So that's awesome that you're finding, like, I just love what you said, where it's like your marketing can overcome your lack of experience. That's so great. That's such a good nugget.
The first time I heard about you, I was in St. Louis at a hotel, and I was sitting down with our mutual friend Mike Sherrard. And he was going on and on about this guy that just moved to Austin, and he was killing it with YouTube videos, and he's brand new to real estate. And he said Soomin Kim. And then I was like, I've never heard of this guy. And then a few weeks later, Jordan, he had a listing, and he was like, yeah, this guy came through. His name is Soomin Kim. I think you showed one of his houses.
Summerlin. Yeah.
Summerlin, yeah. And then just the name started popping up, and then everywhere, and then everybody started talking, and then I met you at Redhorn, which is pretty crazy. But it's just so cool to see all you're doing, man, for real.
I have a question. So you had mentioned...
That's a very side note.
You had mentioned you moved. Why Austin as a place for you to live? Like, why? What was it about Austin that would attracted you to the area?
I think we had made up our minds on Texas. For the past few years, we had friends that, because you got to understand, like, when you come from California, when you live in California, it's not just California. I lived in Orange County, which is Southern California, about 5 to 10 minutes from PCH. I would be in the Pacific Ocean 3 times a week surfing. So it wasn't just that I lived there. It was part of who I was, my identity, my DNA, all of that, right? Not my DNA, but you know what I mean, culturally, right? So we did decide on Texas because we saw, for a lot of the similar reasons why people would, cost of living. I think the time and the stage of the way the world was in as far as the pandemic and everything, I think that sped things up for us to consider maybe looking outside and maybe looking at a different state. But I looked at Prosper, we looked at Frisco, we looked at McKinney, we looked at Dallas area. When I came to Austin is unique in Texas compared to most cities just because it's more of what I'm used to, right?
Sure.
Topography, nature, the buffer of nature between commercial, residential, and nature is still there, right? In other words, it hasn't been concreted out yet. Now, it might be heading that way, and I feel very protective of it now, you know? But when you go up to like somewhere like a Prosper or Frisco or Dallas and that, you can see it's very cemented out, very flat. Great for commerce though. Like, you want to find a restaurant, you're going to find it there, right? You're going to find some entertainment, all that stuff, you're going to find it there. Here, there's not as much of that, but I think that's what I knew would sell my wife, if she's going to leave the confines of Orange County.
You had to convince the wife.
Had to convince the wife.
That's what it always comes down to.
You know what? I think if you really do a survey in all things real estate, the female is going to make that decision.
Right.
Hey, so to get a little tactical, you said that you got a lot of leads from YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. What does that process look like for you? And we asked Jeremy as well. What does that process look like for you? You put the video up. Now, where does the potential client go? Or the prospect? Do they click on a link? Do they just look you up on Google? What does that look like?
I think that for me, it's a good question. because I'm trying to see all the different ways and different orifices that people are coming in from, But for the most part, it's going to happen for me with a text or an email. Okay. And then what's caught up now is Instagram direct messages and WhatsApp. Okay. So what I do in all my videos, I always give people an opportunity to get a hold of me. That's one thing I'll say. Always give them more than one opportunity to get a hold of you, right? So whether you have your link down below in the description, whether you have your phone number, your text up there on the screen, whether you have a website that's constantly overlaid as a template for all your descriptions of all your videos, you want to give everyone an opportunity. So for me, it's going to come through text messages, phone calls, and emails more than anything.
Nice. And I'll continue on with the YouTube talk. I had that a little bit later, but since we're on the subject, I know that you had mentioned you had gotten into it because how long have you been doing YouTube videos, like yourself?
I got licensed in November, and my channel went live in January. So November 2020, and then I was behind the scenes just working on it. One thing that I knew is that I didn't even let anyone know I was a real estate agent. I went to this school, Champion School of Real Estate, exam prep, passed my exam, and it wasn't like, hey everybody, like if you need help listing or buying home, like let me help you, tell all your friends and family. It wasn't even that. I was like super DL, super ninja about it, because I wanted to spend those 2 months in just marketing.
Wow.
Marketing. Like if I'm gonna shoot this arrow, like I don't want to do it limp. I want to pull back as hard as I can pull back and then let go. So that's what I did. I made sure I looked the part. I made sure I had a brand that was authentic to my personality. And then I started working on all things YouTube, and that a lot of it came from someone that we mentioned was Mike Sherrard. Mike Sherrard is a partner of mine in real estate and the brokers that I'm at. And I had a chance to interview so many different brokerages, so many different people. And I'll say this, as much as I made a decision on the brokerage I was with, I think more important than that is who you actually partner with. So what I would say to anyone that's new when they call me, I'm like, look, there's pros and cons of every brokerage, but you have to align yourself with people that are building the business or teaching you how to build it and what is authentic or what you agree is beneficial for your business, right? So if people think like, hey, look, I think more modern strategy, social media, video marketing is how I want to build my business, then don't go join an office where their expertise is cold calling and door knocking. You know what I mean? But if you feel like your personal one-on-ones or your referrals or your network at churches and door knocking and flyers then find someone that is an expert in that, And I think that it's important that you align yourself. So for me, after I was interviewing everyone and talking to all these different people of them wanting me to come on the brokerage, it wasn't until I came across this gentleman named Mike Sherrard. It was like, look, Soomin, this is how I believe that you need to be successful building this business, And he mentioned the efficiencies of video marketing. He mentioned efficiency of communication of the entire world in general, In other words, if I need something and I want to learn something, we're not waiting for a phone call or something to knock on our door or to get a flyer in the mail. We're going straight to Google. We're going straight to scrolling. We're going straight to Instagram to figure these answers out. Did this happen? Let me get the data on it. We'll go straight to YouTube. Gosh, I have a plumbing issue. How do I fix this? Go straight to YouTube, right? So I don't think it's any different with homes today, with real estate, is that people are going and finding themselves seeking that, through video content, social marketing, social media.
Sounds like Mike was right.
Yeah. So I partner with them because of this philosophy. And I think that's important for people because you can't, like even getting in shape, you can't try 5 different diets. You can't do keto and then do Atkins here and then do a little bit of Weight Watchers here. You got to kind of they all work if you just stick with one, Yeah. But a lot of people just kind of, they don't know what to focus on, right?
How long into you being consistent putting out content did you see results from that?
My first lead came in, I want to say 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks.
Wow.
That's pretty quick.
But the truth is a lot of people look at my YouTube channel and they say, I'm going to just try to mimic it. I'm going to just try to just do what you do. Oh, you're showing some homes, I'll show homes. Oh, okay. I've had people even say the exact same thing that I said. It's almost like a Mad Lib where they just have blanks where they switch their name out and then switch their, like I've had people, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like mine. I realize it is word for word. They type my stuff out.
Wow.
And they just, and so what I would say, there's a lot of psychology behind it. And one of them was, I call it the 3 C's for results, right? Connection, competency, and consistency. I know you mentioned consistency was one of them. So my thing was I needed to connect with people first, right? Because if I don't connect with them, they won't use me. They'll take my content, but they'll go find someone they connect with. In other words, right? Hey, by the way, John, I saw some Asian dude on some YouTube channel. He talked about this Dries home. Can you help me find it? Why didn't he call me? It's because he or she did not connect with me. So they took my content and found someone else they connected with. So it's important for me to connect with people right away. So if you see my first video, it's no good. It's blurry, it's too long, it's fuzzy, but yeah, it's probably been the biggest icebreaker for people that come on my channel, because the first thing I say is, hey, I'm Soomin. Hey, I'm also a father, I'm also a husband, I'm also someone that relocated here, right? So immediately I'm looking for commonalities, if that makes sense, right? The moment we find commonalities, then you can spoon feed them what you want to. And if that's content, if that's homes, as long as the connection is there. So I started that first. My first video was like 20 minutes long, which breaks every rule. You don't want videos that long, but I wanted to connect with people. I wanted people to think like, hey, I feel like I know this guy. Hey, I have a lot in common with him. Hey, the same things that he desires are the things that I desire, and so
many people skip that aspect, and that's so great.
Right, they go straight to market reports. Hey, how much inventory is on? I'm like, that's great. That shows competency, and it definitely gives some data and metrics, but if they don't connect with you, it's just noise.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
And I'm looking at my video. I'm thinking about the videos that I've been doing. I'm like, man, you're right.
I know. We're taking notes.
I know. Like, all right, here we go.
It's all effective as long as you can connect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The moment the connection's there. And so I talk about it like a lot of times I like to say it's like a 3-number combination lock, right? If there's 3 numbers to unlock a lock, if you have 2 of them done, it still feels like it's completely locked, right? It doesn't loosen up because you have 2 of the numbers, right?
Yeah.
So it's not until you get that 3rd number and then all of a sudden it just unclicks, right? And to me, it's like you got to connect with people. You got to show that you're competent, and then you got to be consistent with that message. And it seems like when those 3 things hit, leads start coming in.
I do that a lot with events. So it's cool that you say that, because we connect with people at events, like in person, and then competency. We're bringing some sort of value to the event, and consistency. We do it multiple times a month. That's so cool. I love how you put that out there. My question is, when it comes to content, what is the most powerful, or what's the most ROI?
Like what performs the best?
Performs the best for sure is showing homes. Because look, at the end of the day, the purchase of a home still needs an empathetic connection with another human, which is an agent like us, right? That's why I believe AI, iBuying, all this stuff, I believe they'll have some traction in the future, but that empathetic connection is still existing there, right? So ultimately, homes are emotionally driven purchases, right? And oftentimes a decision that is concluded by one of the partners in a relationship, maybe, then we joke that it was the wife, but it often is,
Yeah, for sure.
If they give the okay, then everything is just, it's just the details, right?
You kind of answered a question that I had for later on, which was, with all this AI, with automation, with all this new technology that's out, there's been chatter of like, are realtors even going to be a thing in 10 years?
Yeah.
And so I totally agree. Like my point to that is there's always going to be a need for the human connection. There's going to be a need for someone that understands you on a deeper level than just the black and white text that can be input. And that trust is so important. You don't necessarily trust an AI, but you can trust a human that you can hear has your best interest at the forefront of what they're doing,
right,
and that they're in your corner.
So I 100% agree. I do believe that there will always be, at least as far as I can see out, there'll be a human empathetic connection. However, the amount of people that are being counted on will be much less. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I would imagine, think back to a profession that at one point was really glamorous and does not exist anymore. Let's talk about the travel agent.
Oh yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Like at one time, they would say things like this, and I remember being young and hearing them like, oh no, I have a referral book of business. Every year, the Johnson family, the Smith family, the Kim family, they all depend on me every year. So I'm fine. I have all referral based. I don't even need a market. I'm a refer. And how often do we hear that today with agents, right? It's all referral based. And that's great. But what that really just says is that you've been successful over a period of time, in a season of time long enough for this to make its course. But if you don't adapt, if you don't keep up, eventually just because you sold their uncle a home doesn't mean you're going to sell their nephews a home. They're going to go find someone they connect with that has competency and that's consistently put out a message that they will find. So, and I think another thing I want to point out is that video it's efficient, right? So when I do meet people, I've already done the work to feel like they know who I am. So I don't need to resell myself,
You've already broken down the barrier of unfamiliarity.
Not only unfamiliarity, but they don't mind the way I look. They don't mind the way I talk. They don't mind my age. They don't mind that I'm a man. You know what I mean? Like these things have already been broken down, right? And then they called me, so I'm already up ahead. Now I can just be.
That makes sense. You know what I mean? You've taken away a lot of the
wall of distrust.
Yeah, like you've already laid down the ground. Like you said, they're in agreement of these things that you're the person they want to work with.
It makes me feel competent and confident. I'm sorry, confident, because it's like going on a blind date. You know what I mean? Like I'd be insecure if they don't know what I look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that they know all of that about me and they still call me, now I can be efficient. We can get right into what you need. I already know you like me.
Right.
I already know you trust me.
That's why you called me.
That's why you call me. And guess what? If they wanted to work with someone, if they want to work with someone older, they find someone older. Someone younger, they find someone. They want to work with a woman, they can find a woman. They want to work with someone that's not Asian, they'll find someone that's not Asian, right? But the fact that they call me, they've already said yes to those things. The efficiency that provides me and allows me is every bit the reason I was able to individually as a solo agent close 114 homes last year. You know what I mean? It's because I didn't have to spend the time. Like I get a lot of agents that say, Soomin, I get leads from my office, or I get opposite lead or whatever, right? Half the time you're selling yourself on that lead. Who is this? Who's calling me? Who are you? You know, then they start doing research on you. You didn't organically curate that for them to reach out to you. You just given that. Now you have to sell them on yourself, you know?
That's so true.
The video does the work for me when I'm sleeping. I'm selling myself every night. That sounds funny, right? But I'm selling myself 24/7 on an open platform.
Right. Those evergreen videos are so important.
Yeah.
It's doing the work again while you're asleep. When the client hasn't reached out to you on Instagram or whatever it is, they're still, you're gaining the advantage without you even knowing it.
Right. Absolutely.
I think the biggest holdback for a lot of agents are like, I don't see any results. I'm doing these videos and I don't see any results. And for like we're saying, you just got to be consistent and you have to be competent. And what was the other one? You have to be
competent.
Connection.
You need to connect, yeah.
That's the big thing is like you can, if you're like Soomin said, if you are doing one of the three or two of the three, the lock is still locked.
Right.
It's whenever I'm looking at like as we're sitting here talking, I'm looking at my videos and I'm going, I'm missing the connection part.
Me too.
I like that sound. It sounds like if you're sitting there going, why aren't people watching this? Why aren't people reaching out? It's like, one of the three is missing.
Right. And they'll connect on any level. Like my story is, and I'm definitely for sure, and I'm very well aware of this, but I'm carrying the flag for those relocating, and you're welcome every agent in Austin, right? As much as like it's troubled us as residents here and seeing how much things are changing, traffic, politics, all that stuff, right? But let's be real, like every agent has really benefited from the relocation.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So I realize I'm carrying that flag, but guess what other flag I could carry if I had the ability to do that? I'm a third generation Austinite. My grandparents were born. I know everything there's about, you know what I mean? Like that's a value piece, right? Mm-hmm. And what if I was authentic and be able to use that as a platform on YouTube? You don't think that's powerful? It's heck powerful.
What's crazy is one of my biggest insecurities was my tattoos because Jordan and I were in a heavy metal band before we got into real estate. Yeah. But what I realized is like, I'm just who I am. And I provide that connection and that consistency and that competency that eventually the people that connect with me, they don't care.
It's gonna make it easier for you too, because guess what? You can be yourself.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a trucker hat right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I actually I've noticed in my last like 20 meetings, I'm dressing down a little bit more just because it's comfortable for me. But again, as long as I have enough competency online.
Yeah, but now you have the credibility for all the
absolutely.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter what I wear because I'm still going to sell your house.
It's my theory of celebrities in Los Angeles. If you see them on like TMZ, they look homeless. Like they're coming out of Whole Foods in a stretched out V-neck and like sweats, right?
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Why did they allow themselves to be looking like that in public? It's because they know that you know them at their best. You've seen them in the Oscars. You've seen them in in roles in different movies. You've seen them at their very best in their very best shape. So when they're out there, like, you already know what I'm about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look homeless.
That's so great.
You know what I mean?
Eventually.
Yeah. And John, like to your point, like if someone's not going to work with me because of my tattoos, I don't want to work with you either.
That's
like
so
it's
true.
probably not going to be a good fit. Soomin, I want you to go back to your first sale, very first sale. And I want you to think about maybe a lesson that you took away from that. And then also think about, when did you know that real estate was going to be the career for you? You had mentioned you had a corporate job, long time ago. You did entrepreneurial stuff for 15 years between then. When was it real estate is what I'm going to do now?
Good question. I'm thinking back to the first sale.
Sorry, I know I front loaded that question a lot.
I know,
questions.
But I guess the way to answer that is I'm humbled enough to say that I'm still pretty new. I'm still fairly new. I'm sure there's still a lot for me to learn, but I do say I probably did, from an experience standpoint, like a decade amount of work in a couple of years. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's there for sure. No, it was pretty quick. I mean, like I said, at the heart of who I am, and I'm an entrepreneur. And what I'm realizing, even in the position I'm in today, is like this could lead anywhere. You'd be so. It's exciting to have conversations about tech products that can affect real estate. Like. I'm always an entrepreneur, right? So I guess what I'm saying is I don't even know right now that that's the case, that I'm gonna do this forever,
Right.
But I love it, and I'm good at it, and I'm good at helping people, and I feel very confident and efficient in my ability to find people a home and to help list a home as well.
Another question.
Yeah. So the answer, I don't know. I don't know when that moment was.
So it hasn't hit for you yet where you're like, this is going to be the long-term play, but it has hit where it's, I can do this right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm killing
what
it.
I'm doing right now, it's going to evolve. It's going to evolve, and it's just going to evolve. It's going to evolve into something entrepreneurial, and it's going to be a value add to anyone who's connected to me who needs my services.
Yeah, and we started talking before we were rolling about thinking about the end. We, alluding back to a few episodes ago, a lot of agents get into this business, and like you said, they just want that paycheck to validate that, hey, look what I did. Like, I did it. I went through the schooling and whatever, like getting licensed, and it wasn't for nothing. But then it's, how can I make this a career? Or what does my exit from here look like? Because unless you start planning for that, you're going to blink your eye and you're going to be 30 years down the road with no plan in place.
Right.
And so it's important for people to think about that. The brokerage we're at is real big on making real estate work for agents, not necessarily be worked by agents. Mm-hmm. And so that looks like being able to invest in properties for yourself, multifamily, things like that. That's one avenue. There's so many different things you can do with real estate. You can do referral business. You can do where you lead a team and you're getting like a split commission from that, and like teaching them lessons so that you're not having to do the lead gen. You're not having to do all the daily activities. That's what I love, is that there's so much possibility.
Yeah. Yep.
So my question is I noticed a lot of the houses that you've sold are within a certain price range. Mm-hmm. Is that on purpose? Like, have you marketed towards that certain price range, or because it's really like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, 700, 800, 900,000. Mm-hmm. I mean, upwards of
like higher end,
$1.5 million, right? Mm-hmm. Are you marketing towards those type of people that are in that price range, or has it? I mean,
I am. That's something I've tested in my YouTube channel. Like in the beginning, if I'm showing homes that are more entry level, and the beauty, I mean, let's be real. One of the realities is, look, home prices have increased tremendously in the last 3 years, right? They've adjusted lately, right? But overall, in Austin, what used to be 200 is now 350. What used to be 350 is now 500. It's the new norm, right? So, but I did test that on my YouTube channel. I remember in the beginning, I don't see myself. Well, I didn't give myself enough credit, right? So I'm gonna just stick to like, hey, 350, 400, 420s, what have you, And I thought I would test this. I would start, maybe if I show homes that are like a little bit higher range, more, in the 700s, and then lo and behold, as I started showing those, the people that would call would have that budget, Mm-hmm. And then I said, let me test some luxury homes, let me just get myself and start showing that off. And it wasn't like immediate where every so someone calls me and says, my budget is $2-3 million, but I started getting those for the first time once I started leveling up what I'm showing. So here's the psychology of it. Whatever you're standing in front of, whatever you're talking about, the psychology is that people think that you're capable of obtaining that for them.
So right? You're advertising the client. You're trying to attract the client of what you're showing, and that's so intentional.
Put me in front of a Honda Civic, I look like I sell Honda Civics. Put me in front of a Ferrari, I might look like I sell a Ferrari. But psychology of when people see that is, I want that house. He's in the way. He must be able to help me obtain that. And so that's the beauty of video, and it's more psychology than anything else.
That's a great lesson.
What you stand in front of, it exemplifies on who you are. we've seen people that aren't the most attractive with really good looking partners, you know, but just because they're with them, you think there's something about them that got them that, because we don't see it up front, right?
Yeah.
Like, but that person must be rich, must be, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But there's something about that. And that's what homes do. You just stand in front of them and somehow they'll correlate a connection. To get that, they got to come through you.
I have such a funny story about, like, this is such a sidebar, and I'm sorry for even bringing this up. I did an interview when I first moved to Austin, and it was between going to work at a car dealership or a print shop, which is printing was my background, advertising, like marketing, all that good stuff. And the guy at the car dealership was the most awkward interview I've ever been in. He was like, Jordan, I'm not attractive. I'm not good at anything. I blah, blah, blah. But I have a hot ass wife and I make a shit ton of money. And I was like, that's great. And he's like, you don't believe me? And he like digs through and he finds his W-2 and he throws it in front of me. He goes, read that number. And I was like, 184,000. He goes, that's right. He goes, if you want to be like this, you join here today.
You're like Jonah Hill in The Wolf of Wall Street. Where it's like, show me how much you money. I make 70,000. Show me. I'll quit my job right now.
I quit. That's so great. Now, what's funny is it turned me off so much because I was like, this guy's on drugs or something.
Yeah.
Like, it scared me. So I went to the print shop.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, sorry for the sidebar. Just that reminded me of that.
That is hilarious.
Tell me about this rock band.
Rock band?
What kind of music?
We were a heavy metal band.
Like give me like
screaming, everyone that asked like just has a blanket statement. We're like Metallica, but it's much more down tune, not singing. It's like it's very heavy,
like screaming.
Yeah,
like hardcore.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We got to like tour around.
Who was the singer?
John sang.
So I sang, didn't scream, but
and play guitar, and I was bass.
Heck yeah.
And then
we were the money suppliers of the band.
It was super fun though. Like it was a very entrepreneurial time of our life. Like we had to figure.
Was this the type of hardcore rock where you're wrapping the mic cord around your fist?
Yes. Yeah. You know.
I'll tell you why I know that, because I come from a Christian background.
Me too.
And when I was younger, Christian hardcore scene was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
It's called the Spearfield hardcore scene. Tooth and Nail Records.
Yeah, Tooth and Nail.
Oh,
yeah.
For today?
Unashamed, Focus, Overcome.
Yes. Yeah.
That was like, and so, yeah, I remember going to shows, and I was young. I was a teenager, but I just remember there's no energy like a hardcore show.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
And if you understand the lyrics of what they're saying, then it's not screaming, right? It's
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty. And then the mic gets thrown in your face, and you're swinging away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misunderstanding or like mislabeling what hardcore music is, and I'm so glad that you like empathize with and like you understand it, because the energy is unreal. Like that was the big thing for me, is like I was not a big pit person. Like I don't do all that, but you knew if you were playing and that wasn't happening, they weren't feeling you.
It's the double bass drums. It's just everything. And it's also knowing the lyrics of the songs, you know? So
like there's nothing wrong with going to a John Mayer concert, but tell me the energy at like an Under Oath show is not completely different.
I remember Under Oath, 18 Vision was it?
18 Vision?
Yeah, 18 Vision, another one.
Like Amber Lynn, Emery.
Yeah.
Dude, such a good time. That's so awesome.
There you go.
I know that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides video, is there anything that you do to get clients?
Yeah, what other like advertising or marketing do you do, if any? I mean, YouTube could be the bread and butter.
I'm going to say this with a caveat, saying that it doesn't mean I won't ever do it. So you'll hear me a lot as someone that says like, I've never done this yet, right? But I don't want that to be construed as I will never do that, right? So I've not yet to spend money on ads in any case.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm proud of that, you know, and I will spend money on ads. I just haven't had to yet. You know, I haven't had to dance for leads yet, you know, I don't mind. I'll point at disappearing captions on, you know, I'll do it all, right? But I haven't had to do those things yet.
I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right. It's
Did y'all hear him? He said, I'll point at disappearing captions. Like on TikTok.
I'll do that.
Inspection, appraisal.
I'll do all.
Do you have a TikTok following?
I'm lacking there. I do have a TikTok, but I'm lacking there. So again, I'm someone that will I'm not just going to chase everything, right? And I think TikTok is super powerful, and short form is super powerful, and all that stuff about analytics and all that stuff is all true. But I haven't had to do all of that yet. Okay, so I've had enough with where I'm at, and then when I'll lead that way. I'm willing to do all of it, but I just haven't had to do it.
I think that goes back into what you said earlier, where you said there's so much power in adaptability. You're saying I haven't done it yet, and maybe one day I will, right? And
so I never want to say I wouldn't. I just haven't had to yet, you know.
Yeah.
And until that dries up or I need to adapt, you know. But there's something about being preemptive and getting ahead of something for sure, you know. And I'm very comforted by the group that I'm surrounding myself with, my partners, that they're always looking ahead, you know, whether it's Clubhouse, ChatGPT, whatever that is that's next or on the forefront. I can focus what I need to do, and they can say, Soomin, red alert, get on top of this right now, you know. So,
I like it.
Yeah.
What would you say was like a pivotal moment, or maybe a system that you implemented in your business that just completely elevated your business and your production?
Man, I realized really quickly with new construction that there's some videos that get more hits than others. And every time I would put this floor plan of a particular builder, it's a phenomenal floor plan, 5,100 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms.
Is it the Drees home?
It's a Drees home, you know? And
I did that same video, and it performs. It's like, it's just such a beautiful house.
So what happened was I started putting this out. It's funny because I start to hear around the grapevine, even from the division vice president of Drees, you know, like they don't necessarily approve everyone to go and film their stuff, but they had a I don't know, should I say this out loud? But anyways, he approved of it, and they pointed me as an example, like, hey, if people just did it like this guy, you know, like we'd be fine with it, you know. And
that's great.
So long story short, I realized that when I can focus in, and that was like a focus of mine, because I knew that was like a $1.5 million home, you know, and I started focusing on that because it was attractive, it was a sexy home as it was, but I knew that people were looking for that home as well, you know. And because of the video that I put out, I did almost every model home of that particular floor plan. I ended up selling, as of my last count, 8 of those. Okay. And I realized that I can have a theme and almost force myself to be the face of a floor plan, you know? And people started reaching out to me. I'll tell you how crazy this gets, okay? It gets so crazy to the fact that someone in Houston wanted this floor plan. They had the contract in place, but they were crediting me with the fact that I introduced it to them on YouTube. They called me and said, we already have everything in place. Can we put you on? Because you're the reason why we're getting this.
And you're like, yes, you can.
And you know what? Normally, if this was a resale home, I certainly would refer that because it's not my city. But new construction is and they said, look, Soomin, just help us with the structurals on it. You know, make sure we do the most efficient for resale value. You know, because you know this floor plan better than anyone. And that to me at that moment was like, wow, video, and putting myself with the emphasis on that floor plan, you know, was a huge pivotal moment for me.
So what does reaching out to these builders look like? Like, hey, can I just go do a video?
No, in the beginning, I didn't really ask.
You just did it.
It's a public space. They're showcasing something. You know, they want you to get this out there. They want you to sell it.
It's free advertising for them.
Right. It's not a private residence, you know. It's a sales office, you know. And so, but I would, in the beginning, I would say, hey, is it okay if I come by? I have a lot of clients that do want to see this. Can I just film the inside? Oh, go ahead, you know?
Yeah.
And so one thing I never want to tell people how to do their business, but for me, I come from a place where just do it. Yeah. You know, if you ask too many questions, you're gonna get too many answers.
Me too.
Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
I always do that.
The last thing you want is someone going to some dusty book and, hey, paragraph, 43 slash C, blah blah blah. You know, just take it off if you have to. You know, but so in the beginning, just I would ask, a little bit, but I would more or less, I would almost, this is what I've learned. As long as you look like you know where you're going, they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
It's like the YouTube videos, a joke where if you have a ladder with you, you can get in anywhere. You know? You ever seen that? Those two people that carry a ladder into a movie theater.
That's funny.
Into the amusement park. If you have a ladder with you, they'll just let you in. As long as you look like where you're going, like they'll let you in. I'll tell you how this comes full circle now. And this is mind blowing to me. This is new for me in the past couple months. But in the past 2 months, I've had 2 different builders want to give me listings of their new homes, essentially taking work away from their sales counselors and giving it to me because they're realizing I have reach, So I'm about to close my second home with GFO as a listing agent. You know, I just listed a new Silverly home as well. You know,
That's so exciting.
It's crazy because they have people in professional positions to sell this stuff, but they also realize they're just waiting for inbound calls, you know?
Yeah.
And so I see a shift there as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't they use me? I can get 10 next to reach, you know?
Almost like home influencers. I see it.
That's just the whole we talked about the possibilities with real estate. Like you don't know what kind of doors are going to open from the activities that you may not see results from right now, but when you get it locked in, that's such a great lesson.
So where I used to have to ask for permission, they're reaching out to me now. Can you please come down here? We have a new grand opening. Will you please film this? Can you, you know, like that's a far cry from asking permission. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
There's new income possibilities too.
There is. And I just mentioned one. I listed a new construction home. They hire professionals to sell these, but they bypassed them and said, we want you to sell this. You know?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's pretty awesome.
That's crazy.
All without spending a dime on advertising.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I have one last question before we wrap up. I want you to think about your year one. You said you're about 3 years into this now. If you could go back to your year one self, maybe even prior to a transaction, knowing what you know now, is there a lesson that you would teach that person? Like one main takeaway that was like, hey, like here's the shortcut, or hey, like stop worrying about this. Like what lesson would you tell yourself?
You know, I've had this question presented to me a few times, and it's a little bit challenging to answer because in my heart of hearts, I knew that I did everything I was supposed to do. Like I executed upon it, you know? And as I help other people to do the same, what I'm realizing more and more is that people don't execute quickly enough. They're waiting for something, you know? And I don't know that I would change anything that I did because I knew that I took action fairly quickly, you know? And
just stay the course.
Yeah, and I can't say this about 99% of things in my life, but when it came to the profession of being a new real estate agent in a new city, in a new market, I believe I'm proud of myself for having taken and executed so quickly, you know? Other areas of my life, no, I've blown it in almost, you know, in every aspect of every part of life. But I think when it comes to this, it's hard for me to go back and say I would have done this differently because by the grace of God or timing and all of this, it's very unusual. Like if it wasn't myself that experienced 60 million in their first year of closing, you know, and then 84 in the second year of closings in my second year, it sounds like a scam, you know, like if someone told me that, I'd be, oh, it's a scam, you know? So I would just take action that much more quickly. I spent 2 months getting YouTube prepared, you know, and, but I would just take action as quick as possible.
And you do all your videos yourself?
I do. And in the beginning, I think it's efficient to have someone else do them but I can do them very quickly. If this was a house, I can record this house, I can go back and edit it. I can probably do it within an hour, you know? And my videos aren't great. They're basic, they're fundamental, they're okay. People can do a much better job at things, but I try to keep it as minimal as possible. Just use an iPhone. I use a corded mic even, and I do a lot of selfie stuff, and I just get it out there because I know that people just want it. The reason I chose to have people not do it for me and me to learn it by myself is because you got to remember 2020 and 2021, everything was so fast and so quick. If the home came on market, if you didn't jump on it, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to be the first one to show a particular section and I knew I had to get that out today. If I get out today, people will search for that. I'll be the first one that comes on there. So that's a little bit of a nugget as well in hindsight, is that timing is important. You want to be the first one to jump on a new home, a new section, a new community, because it becomes a keyword, right? And every time they do their own marketing, they're Googling it. So if they Google it, you're one of the first ones that put it out there, you can have that search engine kind of conquered right there. So I don't know that I would do anything differently. I would, because I'm so grateful, and I know it's so unusual that the results I was able to achieve. So
that's awesome. Yeah. If there's something I took away from what you just said, it was stop worrying and waiting for things to be perfect. It's go out and just do the damn thing. It's go film the video. If it's raining, do the inside, get a quick thing on the outside, put it up.
Yeah.
You don't have a crew with you, selfie it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an HGTV special or caliber video for you to put it up.
As long as you're here for the long term, just do it, you know. And you mentioned, hey, sometimes your YouTube doesn't get hits. Even for musicians, like it's not until their third album and that one song that hits. The moment that hits, people will backtrack your past albums. Don't worry about that. You know what I mean? And so even for me, like it was doing okay. And I remember just doing like this one luxury home in Lakeway, and it hit. You know, I think it's like at 250,000 views right now, and it's because of that. I think I picked up like maybe 600 subscribers, and then they started filling in and watching all the other videos as well. So don't be discouraged. Just keep putting out the content, you know?
Because you never know what's going to hit.
You never know what's going to hit, and they do, and it hits. And I would say, yeah, as you guys know, YouTube is a great platform. I think right now, I think it'll change. I think there'll be new platforms in the future. But right now, YouTube tends to be a great search engine, very stable, and away from too much societal pressures and conflicts of politics and everything. It's just kind of there as a search engine more than anything.
Yeah.
You can find what you want without being inundated too much about things that you don't want.
It's great when people are Googling things like, you know, new homes in Georgetown.
And your video comes up on the first page. Yeah, it's nuts.
Correct.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, they're not going to see your TikTok there. It's going to be a YouTube video.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason, that's what ties into it. And I don't know if the two are connected or owned together or what, but nonetheless, your YouTube videos are what pop up whenever you're doing a Google search.
Yeah. And it's a great way for people to find you. Like last year, I had someone from Netflix, some reality show for selling in Austin, reach out to me. I declined that, you know. And then just recently, you know, CNBC had a producer find me on YouTube and put me on, you know, one of their programs or whatnot, you know.
I saw that, yeah.
It's a constant, you know, LinkedIn for you, you know.
So my major takeaways from this episode: consistency, competency, and connection. Right. That's so huge, guys.
If you take nothing else away, I think that'll put you. I mean, that's the great summary for this episode.
Yeah.
And adaptability.
Yeah.
And taking action.
Yeah.
Stop being scared. Go do it.
Yeah.
You know what to do. You know what you need to do.
You'll connect no matter what. You have tattoos, you're going to find people with tattoos that need homes. You know what I mean? Like you'll connect with anything. You're single, you know, you're a young professional, it doesn't matter. You will attract who you are. So just go be yourself. And there's enough market share for people to you just want people to say me too when they watch your videos. Hey, I came to Austin because I love the nature. I love the fact there's topography. Oh, me too. And I came here because I wanted an environment for my family to raise my children, a better cost of living. Oh yeah, me too. You know, just get them to say me too. You don't want them to say so what. So every time you put something out there, are they going to say me too or so what? You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Boom. That's mic drop.
This might have been one of the best episodes we've ever had.
Bookmark it. Go back and listen to it again because I was here and I'm just like my mind's blown. Again, thank you for taking your time and letting us be one of the first people to interview about your expertise and just explosive growth through this industry where a lot of people struggle. And I think it's great for people to hear. I'm a new agent too, but I'm freaking killing it. And this is how. So thank you just from a personal standpoint and as a fellow realtor for letting us pick your brain here today.
Yeah.
So for all the listeners that are listening today, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Soomin Kim Group. They can find me on YouTube. Just type in Soomin Kim Realtor. And you can find me from other platforms.
Nice.
If you're watching a walkthrough video in Austin, it's probably Soomin Kim. So I got a challenge for you before you listen to the next episode. For everyone listening today, I want you to make 10 new connections. We gave the same challenge to a new member on our team. I want you to meet 10 new people before you listen to the next episode. I want you to get out of your comfort zone. I want you to at least exchange names. You don't necessarily have to get their contact info, but when you're walking through the grocery,
get their contact info.
If you can, that's a bonus challenge if you can. But if you're at the grocery store, I want you to get out of your comfort zone. I want you to meet 10 new people before next week. John, where can people find you online?
At John Michael Perez on Instagram.
Perfect. Jordan Sells ATX. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Soomin, thank you so much for coming again today. This was so valuable, not just for our listeners, but for me as well. So
great podcast. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is your platform, and I appreciate you giving it to me.
Thank you guys so much.
Guys, if you learned anything from this podcast, please share it with your friends. It would really mean a lot to us.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all in the next one. Y'all go be great in your local markets.